Sam the Cooking Guy, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Some call him a fool, some even call him a douchebag, but I say Greg Rempe is the greatest thing to happen to barbecue since cavemen.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to. Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Sean Bono! It's all about the Sean Bono, dude!
Succulent fish! What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
Yeah, just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome aboard. It's the Barbecue Central Show, where we talk about only the most high-level barbecue and grilling-related items that are breaking across the nation and the globe. The industry of live fire, that's right. And we do it live each and every Tuesday night.
We'll do it live.
9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. It's happening live. It's also being recorded. Hour number one will be released into the podcast feed a little bit later this evening, although you'll probably see it tomorrow morning as podcast feeds update. Hour number two will be released at 1 a.m. on Thursday morning. You will see it when you arise for your day on Thursday. And then I'll tell you about Friday here in just 1 second. Barbecue Central Show originating from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
Still to come on the show this evening, Sam the Cooking Guy in about 12 minutes from now, and then closing out the show and or coming out of the bullpen, Leonard Botello from Truth Barbecue. I can see he might have tried to sound check himself as I saw his picture in the switcher here as we were transitioning from hour number one to hour number two. We say good evening to those of you watching this show tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook or Twitch/BBQ Central Show to watch. Also, you can take in the show via YouTube/RD Rempe, where there is a very robust chat going on right now with the likes of Guy the Cooking Sam, Smoking Joe's Pit Barbecue. By the way, Joe, congratulations on opening the barbecue trailer. Follow him on social media. You can see the goings on there. There's probably a quarterly segment with Smoking Joe probably coming up here. I know we are due for one with Rusty and his trailer. He's now almost a year in, so it might be good to pick up with somebody new, talk about building into it. Joe left his corporate job at O'Reilly's Auto Parts. Nice, secure job, probably had pension coming in, probably was ready to retire in a few years, and Joe was like, fuck it, I'll just go sell barbecue. Sure, smart move, Joe. So we'll talk about all of that. We also say good evening to those folks that are using our audio streaming platform, Clubhouse. So if you would rather hear us and never see us, Clubhouse is the way to do that. You download it, you find me somewhere on there, and then all you have to do is just punch it up and listen. You don't have to see us at all. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this Friday, episode 249, taking you back to January 21st. Of 2021. And in keeping with the Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame theme from last week, John Solberg quickly puts together a new 5-week run of the newest members of the Guest Hall of Fame. And this Friday, we start with the legend Mike Mills of 17th Street and Apple City Barbecue fame. This particular show is from when I did the In Memoriam for Mike, and that sound was pulled from the live on-site shows I did at the NBBQA event back in 2018. And again, as I'd mentioned last week, that was one of my favorite interviews of all time. One of my favorite interviews I have ever done on this show, not only because Mike was so great, but because it was the first time I took the show on the road. I did 3 days, 3 hours per day worth of live show, and Mike was one of the folks gracious enough to give me the time to do such a great interview. on one of those days. I hope you enjoy it when you hear it. And be sure to go find the entire interview to really get a sense of Mike Mills and how he came up in this biz, how he always thought this was the second job, that barbecue was the second job. It was the flash in the pan. Wasn't anything that he was going to be banking on. He was a dental tech. That was the main business, and this barbecue thing was the side hustle. And then decades and decades later, obviously, the tooth business became the side hustle, but he never closed that down. It's, I think, still in operation, as I had mentioned last week. So I want to thank John Solberg for quickly putting these shows in the can over the next 5 weeks. It's going to be great. So if you are not familiar with who these guest Hall of Fame members are this year, which I can't possibly believe that, especially if you're fans of this show, you will get to know a little bit of Mike Mills and what he's all about. Again, the sound that you will hear Friday is from when I did the In Memoriam show after he had passed away early in 2021 or 2020, I'm sorry. And that particular sound coming from the NBBQA event that I did in 2018 that was down in Fort Worth. Don't forget, if you want to hear a guest or a segment on the show that you fear has been lost in the archives of the show, which is now long-reaching and extensive, email John and let him know what you would like to hear. JON@thebbqcentralshow.com. That's JON@thebbqcentralshow.com, and let him know what you would like to hear. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing that, email me and let me know what you would like to hear in a best of, like in the subject line, put best of, and tell me. I will relay it to John. That way you don't have to interact with him. That makes you feel uncomfortable. But John's a delight. But I'm here to offer another avenue so we can get you the best of shows that you might want to hear. Upcoming shows in October for the remainder include visits from Meathead, Robert Moss from robertfmoss.com. Of course, he's the author of the Q Sheet. Aaron Huntelman from Go Big or Go Barbecue right here in Eastlake, Ohio. He'll be on. Talking about the big win over at the Hartville Hardware Grill Fest from a few weeks back. We'll see if he has risen to cataclysmic fame and fortune over that time. Obviously, to some degree, because he'll be making his debut appearance here on this show. But what else locally? Has Traeger hooked him up with a bunch of stuff like they did with Keith Harris a number of years ago? Or was that a fly-by-night type of situation or a one-off situation? It's obviously not a fly-by-night situation at all. They're a very established, publicly traded company. Ryan Zabril will also make a reappearance on the show in October from Pits and Spits. Brian Halasinski, did you watch him on Shark Tank last week? I didn't. Curse me. It was on Friday. I was at Seton Hill watching the Seton Hill University Lady Griffins volleyball team get worked out of the gym on Friday and then again on Saturday, which is too bad. But I missed it. Don't ruin it for me. I'm going to go on the internet, take in. But I, again, had a feeling that while he was very tight-lipped and was under constraints and blah, 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 he said he wasn't allowed to say anything, but he was very excited about not to say anything. So once again, I believe that he got invested in or was bought into by one of these sharks, but I will find out for myself. And then we will talk to Brian all about it. We'll talk about the show. We'll talk about the Turbo Trusser. He's one of the creators of it, so looking forward to that. And many others, really, so stay tuned for the rest of the shows in October. Oh, dear. Well, this is going to be a thing. You know, I'm wondering right off the bat, I sent Jess an email right at the beginning of her segment at 9:35. I believe, once again, we have run into time zone issues, right? Of course. Because now I have Sam the Cooking Guy coming up at 10:14. And I believe we are now running into a time zone scenario with Jess at 9:15. We could have a situation. Maybe we do a two-sided interview. Maybe not. How can this happen? I have to be very deliberate. Am I not deliberate? Hold on a damn minute. I'm going to go back through. Suffer through me as I open these wounds. Let's see. All right. No. For here. Oh, yeah. See, I'm right on it. 10-4, 9:35 Eastern. Are you amenable?
Get that big stuff out of here.
Well, now we've got trouble in River City. Anybody name that movie? I know Bandito said he knew what Glizzy's was. Does anybody know where that line is? No? All right, fine. Forget it. Well, I'm not going to get to it here, but it's the biggest news item that's going on. And it almost has something to do with cooking. I mean, depending on what you're into eating. Maybe next week. You had to have heard the story. I assume you had to have heard the story. It's crazy. You won't believe it when I tell you all about it. All right. Let me talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grill, a choice line and a prime line. So if you want things like the following: Wi-Fi, you want to play around with an app to control your cooker, you want to turn it on and off from the app, you want to make temperature adjustments, you want to create custom cook cycles, you want to use internal meat probes, prime line. Yes. Also, you get a nice peek-in window on the main cooking chamber and on the pellet hopper. You also have lights on the inside of the cooking chamber, so if you cook in the middle of the night, you can turn on these lights. You can see what's going on in the cooking chamber. You don't have to bring a flashlight out or use your phone light. Now, if you'd rather save a couple $100, Choice Line, that's the one for you. It'll have all those really neat bells and whistles that I just talked about, but it is a nice, sizable, sturdy cooker. I have two in my backyard right now, and they perform flawlessly, and they're like 10 years old at this point. They still eat pellets like nobody's business. You need to pick the one that's best for you. Green Mountain Grill's only sold through dealers, so go to greenmountaingrills.com and then show up, get educated, see all the different models, pick the one that's best for you, consult with the sales guy, and then know that the one that you get, you're going to love. You're going to have success with it right out of the box. No buyer's remorse or anything like this. It's great. greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. You can pick the one that's best for you. What do I say each and every week? Whichever one you get the pizza oven insert, because that's the one you want. Quint Nelson, wasn't Trouble in River City the Music Man? Yes! Look at you! Good for you, Quint. If I had anything to give you for a prize, I would give you a prize. But I'm not. Anyway, greenmountaingrills.com, and we'll be back with Sam the Cooking Guy right after this, so stick around, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Currently available in 3 sizes, a host of accessories to choose from. Whether you are just a beginner or you're a seasoned professional, definitely cooker you want to add to the arsenal, visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. Well, this is something, I got to be honest. Is anybody even available today? There you are.
Oh, God. I got trouble.
I was just getting ready to... Can you not hear me?
No, I can hear you.
Oh, you said you had trouble, and then I was like,
I do. I have trouble. My computer is not charged. And, I've got 2 ports on the side, and one requires this mic, and the other one requires power, but I only have one working port. Shit. So talk fast, buddy.
How much time do we have? I may or may not have Jess Pryles on the other line, and I can just switch off to her. As a matter of fact, let's see. Ready? I have no idea if she's even here or not. But well, she's not there. It looked like she was there, but I can tell when.
What was that?
We had a time zone mix up.
I got you.
Yeah. So
no, so I'm good for right now. I mean, then when you go to a break or something, I'll charge up or I'll say goodbye.
Yeah. So we got one segment. We got 18 minutes. You got 18 minutes?
I have no idea how much time.
All right. Well, let's see what we can push through. So look, for those
I'm
that
just
aren't
happy. Yeah, sorry.
I'm just happy to have you.
I'm just happy to be here and not with the game.
Well, that's funny you mention that, because for those who aren't frequent listeners, but they do tune in to Sam's monthly segment, there has been a change in format. So we're going to move the What Does Sam Like Best game to once per quarter. So you will see it once again in December as we close out the year. Merry Christmas, whatever.
Merry Christmas.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but while it's fun and different from the norm, it does chew up quite a bit of time to the point where we're actually not able to talk about anything else like food and live fire and all this other nonsense. Do you agree with the format change?
100%.
Yes.
And the comments that I get from people that watch both of us, they've said more often than not, they miss the food talk, the nonsense, the conversation.
Yeah. The banter.
The
witty repartee.
Absolutely.
Hey,
how are you, my friend? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. And
thank you.
Your background is incredible. It's very breathtaking. I love it.
Thank you.
I asked Mark Williams this question in the first hour. He has a growing YouTube channel, roughly 50,000 subscribers. So he's getting there. And I asked him, how hard is it to come up with stuff to cook? Because I noticed he has been absent for 3 months, which is probably a no-no in content creation. But he had went on to say all this other stuff.
What's his regular posting schedule?
I think he was doing like a once a week kind of a thing, like a lot of cooking shows are doing or whatever.
So,
but let me ask you, as somebody who has been doing it, how long have you been doing it the 3 times a week? Is it 10 years now? Almost?
11
years. All right. And then you did the live show, of course, before that in a much longer format. And I was the only person that really loved that and watched it. But I want to ask you, how hard is it to come up with stuff to cook 3 times per week for 11 years? I mean, to me, it seems like you would have cooked everything 75,000 times already.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's not easy. So Max suggests things. I suggest things. Subscribers, viewers suggest things. We shot today. I came from shooting. I got home. An hour and a half ago, and we shot. The hell did we shoot? We did a Instant Pot Italian beef sandwich, which is a Chicago thing.
Yeah.
Have you had it?
Oh, of course, yes.
So look, you don't. It's sliced beef. It's not shredded. You do it in an Instant Pot, it's shredded. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say one of the greatest things we've cooked all year. Absolutely effing incredible. I said at some point, fuck the French dip. The Italians have won. Because the places in Chicago that make it, I think, probably the proper way, they build this whole sandwich with the meat and the crispy roll, and they put pepperoncinis or giardiniera or whatever on top, and then they take that whole thing and they dip it in that broth.
Yeah.
So I dipped this way. And I'm telling you, whether I effed it up, whether I did it wrong, I don't care. I said at some point, all that matters is that it's delicious. It was effing insane.
Well, how did you dip it? Meat side like down or whole side like long ways?
Sandwich together in the end. And then,
right.
So damn good. Could not believe how good it was. And the other thing we made is red beans and rice. Suggested. So the reason I'm saying this is suggested by a viewer, subscriber.
Was that made as a side to Italian beef?
No. 2 separate videos.
Oh.
We shoot 2 at a time. We didn't always, but we've gotten much more efficient after 11 years. We'd like to be ahead. And don't forget, we're going away for a week, for 9 days. So we gotta have a bunch of shit in the can. So
now,
these 3 episodes.
If you're a subscriber to Sam the Cooking Guy YouTube channel, you would notice for a number of weeks, Sam's giving away a 7-inch Nakiri knife now until the end of the year. I mean, that's got to be, I'm no mathematician, but that's like 648,000 knives that you're giving away before the end of the year.
A little less, but very close.
Yeah. What's the thought behind that?
Just have some fun.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, of course, you have to be a subscriber, so we get a handful of new subscribers from that, but really it's fun, The knives, I think, what are they, like $79? So they're way less for us. So it's the investment in dollars is not that much. It's a fun thing to do. We like giving stuff away. We have fun with it. We give away a ton of stuff at the holidays, and I don't know if we're going to do that this year. Maybe we'll do something different, but we like give. I mean, I don't know if you'd call it giving back, but we feel that we're fairly giving to our audience, and we like to do that. I'm a fairly giving person. I do as much charity. This is not charity giving away knives, asking people to subscribe and giving away knives. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to draw an analogy between the two, but me personally, I do as much charity stuff as I can. I do feel that it's super important. So I just, if you use my Instagram yesterday, had a pizza that I did a collaboration with my favorite pizza place in San Diego that will start on the 19th, and the proceeds from the pizza will go to this particular charity, Stand Up for Kids. It's a roast beef dip pizza. So it's the crust. There's a horseradish aioli on the bottom. Then there's slices of roast beef on top. Then Fontina cheese. And then a combo of sauteed Fresno peppers and sauteed onions. Sauteed Fresno peppers and onions on top of that. It goes into the oven. It comes out. It gets a little fresh parsley. And then you get a side of onion gravy with it. You're actually taking your slice of pizza and dipping it in and taking a bite. And it is fucking amazing. But the money goes to charity. So that for me, that shit's fun. I like giving shit away. I like doing things like this. So it's great. It's great.
Now, speaking of knives, and by the way, make sure you subscribe and you have a chance of winning a knife, of course. Everybody wants free stuff. Speaking of knives, you've recently added, and I've heard you mention it a couple times here through the most recent videos, a 5-inch Santoku knife to the Sam the Cooking Guy knife collection.
Yeah. Our collection, I laid them all out the other day when I was at the house, we were getting ready to shoot. I was like, Jesus. Sorry I hope that doesn't offend anybody. I don't say it meaning to be, he was a Jew apparently. But Jesus, we've got like a proper line of knives now.
Yeah.
4-inch paring knife, 5-inch Santoku, 7-inch Nakiri, 8-inch chef's knife,
slicer,
the 8-inch serrated, offset serrated bread knife. We've got the I don't know, it was 9-inch slice and a fork, like a carving set.
Carving set, right.
Then we've got this 10.5-inch giant bastard. I don't think we called it that, but that's just will be coming out soon. And I love all the knives. I'm proud of the knives. I think they're great knives, and And yeah, I love them. But I don't want this to be a commercial. Let's talk about food.
Well, let me ask you one follow-up question to that.
There's
So
a point here.
was this something like you originally planned a collection of knives to release, or was it all like you did the 7-inch Santoku or the 7-inch Nikiri, and then all of a sudden you were like, well, this makes sense, adding this?
No. Let's have a knife. Let's make a knife.
One knife.
A knife. My favorite knife. And that was the Nikiri because it's like this, 7 inches, but it's wide.
Yeah.
And I like that wide blade because you can chop with it and then scoop up in. I think of it like a all-round utility knife. If I only had to have one knife, that would be the one. I mean, it's not tiny to do little paring knife stuff, but it's a good size. I could cut chicken with it. I could cut a grilled cheese in half with it. I could chop vegetables with it. Could I carve a turkey with it? Certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be my perfect knife. I would want a longer knife for that, for a bigger turkey, but it would work. If you only have to have one knife, get a knife that fits in your hand that you're comfortable with. I may have said this before. I remember years ago being in a cookware store, just butting around in the aisle and the shelves and stuff, and there was a saleswoman selling knives to another lady, and the lady that was buying the knives was tiny, and the saleswoman was like, "Here's what you have to have. You need a paring knife, and this." Then she's listing the whole thing. You have to have like a 9 or 10-inch chef's knife, and I thought 9 or 10-inch chef's knife. Jeez, the woman's hands were tiny. She's not going to use it. That was just upselling, trying to increase her commission, and to me, that was effed up. I don't like that. I go back to Miracle on 34th Street selling, right? The Santa Claus saying, we don't have the toy you like, but if you go across the street to Gimbals, they've got it, right?
Yeah.
And what did that do? It horrified the Santa's managers, but it made everybody go, Jesus, Macy's is a store with a heart. They care. Think about the customer. You put them first, you're going to be okay. You put yourself first, you're going to maybe short-term gains, and then you're going to be screwed, and you deserve to be screwed. It's not about you. It's about them. Wow, I just got on my high horse there for a second.
Wow. Soapbox is in full effect.
Oh, yes.
Fully supporting saying the cooking guy here. Let me ask you a question about crowdfunding, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind.
So we talk about these knives.
Yeah.
Perhaps somebody else would say, hey, I have a contact, or I want to get into the knife market or whatever, but I don't want to invest my own money. I don't want to go out and get a commercial loan, what have you. What's the new popular thing to do? Crowdfunding. So had you guys ever thought about going the crowdfunding route to raise money for the knives? But, backers get a small discount for ponying up cash in advance. You potentially have tens of thousands, if not maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in advance to get a project off the ground and going. No banks, no savings accounts, no investors besides your backers. This is just something you don't want to mess with? Because you have backed or ordered stuff that has been crowdsourced, like my that guy that's been on the show a couple times. Like
I'm still waiting
Combustion
for it.
Inc. Yeah, are you pissed?
I believe it's coming. No, I'm not pissed. I get how this stuff happens. I'm okay. I think if you decide that you're going to buy a product that's being crowdfunded, crowdsourced, whatever you want to call it, you're buying in at the very beginning when maybe you're just looking at an absolute prototype. So if the person says it's going to be out in August and it's not out till November, it's not out till November. If you're pissed off, you probably can get your money back. And by the way, if you're the person that's doing the crowdfunding and somebody gets pissed off, give them their money back. I'm sure they all do that. I'm not suggesting anybody doesn't, but I'm just saying that should be the rule. But that's what it is. Look, if that's how it works and it works for you and people are okay putting their money in it, I don't have any problem with that. We haven't done that. We haven't needed to. Fortunately, we've been okay. We've had, our own money. We could make these things happen. But I get that, other people, maybe that's the route that makes sense. You know what? It's such a different world today than it was, You know?
Can you imagine 20 years ago going to the general public
can't.
and saying, "Hey, pay for my idea and you can have a discount if we can make it happen"?
But I think people look at this stuff now and they go, you know what? I like that. I appreciate what they're doing. I think that person's got a good idea, and I like the idea of being part of it. I just hope that whatever the incentive is good enough. You know, give me $200. The product's going to be, I don't know, whatever.
$200? I got one right here. Peppermill.
Yeah. Look at you.
$200 Peppermill. Or this $200 Peppermill. Black Rain, Pepper Cannon. Black Rain.
Wait a second. Wait, Black Rain. Where did that? I never even heard of that.
Black Rain. This one is fully electric. It's got 5 different pepper grind settings.
It's got
LED lights at the bottom.
No. Did you buy it or did you get it?
I was sent one to evaluate, and we're going to do a pepper mill challenge in a couple weeks.
And what about the cannon?
I didn't buy it. They sent it to me.
By the way, I bought my own cannon. In fact, I bought 2 cannons.
Well, guess what? I'm no mathematician, but in my hands, I'm holding $400 worth of pepper mills.
I can do that math.
All right.
Okay, but wait a second, buddy. Have you used it? You've used them.
Yes, of course, extensively.
Do you want to tell me? Do you want to tell me which one wins?
No, I'm not going to tell you because I'm doing a whole segment on it coming up.
We text me after. Come on, there has to. I have to have.
I signed a non-disclosure. I can't tell you.
I have. F off. I have to have some benefit from. Wait, hold on. Low battery. Your Mac will soon.
Do you have a minute and 58 seconds?
Okay.
You think?
Go ahead. I probably do.
All right, that's going.
Do.
Hey, the way we've been closing out segments recently, aside from saying we've just run out of time because the game show took too long, is what should I be making for dinner tomorrow night?
Shit. Okay, here's something that's probably out of the heads of most people in the audience. I know it wasn't really in mine. Indian butter chicken. It's a curry-based kind of chicken. It's that time of year. The weather. What's the temperature there today? In
it peaked at 64. It peaked at 64 degrees.
So maybe it's not too cold yet. But Indian butter chicken is pretty simple. It's a handful of ingredients. Yes, garam masala is one of them, and turmeric is one of them. So I say go to the store that you can buy herbs in bulk. Just buy a little bit of each. But I say this all the time. Cook something. Don't make the same thing all the time. And I'll go further for this audience and go, look, this is a meat-loving, barbecuing, smoking audience. Get out of that. Go into the kitchen. I'm sure most of the people watching have a indoor kitchen. Yeah. There's this thing in there called a stove. Some people call it a range. There's an oven. You can do things on that aren't outside, that don't have pellets or charcoal attached to it. Go in there, figure out how to make something, change your shit up. It's effing delicious. It's so delicious. Or go to samthecookingguy.com. Go to Sam the Cooking Guy on YouTube.
Yeah.
And just put in anything you like. And just put in salmon and stuff with salmon will come up. Steak. Shit with steak will come. No, don't do steak. No, don't. Anybody watching now, no steak. I want you to do something different. Something different. Do something vegetarian, for God's. Go cook some effing tofu.
You would be happy to know that the guy from the first hour that I was referencing with the YouTube channel said that in his work contest, he made the Sam the Cooking Guy butter noodles, simple butter noodles. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think he said he came in 3rd place overall, but the deck is stacked against him considering who owns the company, Malcolm Reed. So, it's not like he's probably got a fair chance. I'm not saying there's shenanigans going on, but
there's shenanigans going on.
There could be shenanigans. Who knows?
There is. Listen, just do this, please. Everybody watching and listening right now, something different. Not this. Just because it's Tuesday and you normally make Aunt Ruth's chicken, change that shit up a bit.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Make something else. We don't grow unless we change. That's the words I'll leave you with.
If you've always done what you've always did, you'll always get what you've always got.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. You're good, man.
Just made it up. Just did. I didn't
made
really.
it up.
I didn't really. Hey, Sam the Cooking Guy is right here. You can find him on the first Tuesday in the second hour at the 10:14 segment Eastern Time. Follow him on YouTube, as 3.41 million of you are already doing that, quickly approaching 4 million. And we will see you in November, Sam, if you can believe it.
See you. Yeah, in November.
All right, we'll see you then.
Peace.
There he is.
Bye.
Thanks, pal. TheCookingGuy.com, his website, and make sure you're subscribed to him over on YouTube for 3 times the cooking videos each and every week. Release new ones Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The most recent one was a incredibly involved hot dog. Not involved like difficult, but a lot of stuff on that glizzy. And don't make the same stuff. That's what he was saying. All right, Leonard Botello is ready to rock and roll in the green room. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. I'll talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself, from the award-winning rubs and sauces, the American-made grills and smokers. Big Papa Smokers has everything you need to be a better outdoor cook. Popular flavors of the rubs and seasonings include Sweet Money Hot, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, all proven winners on the competition circuit and in backyards. 13 perfectly balanced flavors, transforming ordinary meals into extraordinary. Also, the owner of Granny's Barbecue Sauce. So if you're looking for a new go-to sauce that will please everybody's palate, why not give Granny's a try? Aside from the premium selection of rubs and sauces, they're also selling the very best pellet, charcoal, and wood cookers available today. If you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out that Mac 2-Star General Pellet Cooker. Big Papa, the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages if you're not a fan of pellet smokers or you don't know which grill you need. Call them. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We are back with the truth right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Sam the Cooking Guy for joining us last segment. TheCookingGuy.com, his website, and subscribe to him on YouTube. Coming out of the bullpen this evening is an award-winning barbecue restaurateur in Houston and Brenham, Texas. His restaurant garnered 3rd overall on the most recent Texas Monthly Barbecue list, released earlier this year. His food widely considered to be some of the best in Texas, certainly at the top in the Houston area. But what does it take to get to this level of success? Let's head to the hotline and welcome in first-timer to the show and the pitmaster and owner of Truth Barbecue, Leonard Botello, joins us. Hey, Leonard.
How's it going, Greg?
I am absolutely fabulous. Appreciate you reloading in for this week, as we ran into a little bit of a time zone issue a couple weeks ago, so happy to have you. So before we talk about the restaurants, the success, the growth of the business, maybe a little background on you. Are you from a barbecue household originally? Isn't it something that you grew up around?
No, my parents... when I was growing up, my parents had restaurants, and I always swore that I was never going to get into the industry because I saw the toll that it took on my family. And, you know, your parents are never home, or dad's never home, mom's never home, vice versa. But they're always busy. You're always on the go. I mean, and my parents never wanted that lifestyle for me. So I went to school, finished at Texas A&M, and that's really when barbecue really started taking off. And man, I just went first barbecue experience, I think 2014, 2013. And basically the rest is history. I just got fixated on it, and now here I am. Swore that I was never going to get into the restaurant business, and right back where I started.
When you're growing up, if there I don't want to say trying to talk you out of it, or, I mean, you see what they're running up against as far as the grind is concerned. Like, do you notice as a youth that they're not happy, or are they complaining about the grind that they're going through, or is it just like a lifestyle they were hoping to get through and that you didn't have to do something that was as arduous?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the both. I think everybody that works in the restaurant industry will tell you how difficult it is and how much of a toll it'll take on your body. And basically the same information that I would give out, they gave out. So the same things that I preach, they definitely preach to me. And now I'm just living it firsthand. I'm not going to say that they weren't around. They were just on the go all the time. You know, somebody calls at the restaurant, you got to go. There's an event, you got to go. Which I never minded growing up, and I still don't mind it, you know, at my age now. But it's not something that you would really wish upon somebody, you know, unless you really, really love it.
So you're only in the barbecue game per se, going on 8 years. You said you started in 28. Is it 20 or 27? 2014?
About 2014 is when I got kind of fixated on it. 2015's when Truth Brenham opened up. So it was a long time and a short time, if that makes sense. Some people have been cooking for a lot longer, and it's been in their family for generations. This is not something that was really in my family or I had not done previously. So
prior to opening up, then, were you learning your pitmaster skills under some, you know, grand master barbecuer? You know, you hear a lot of people going through the barbecue or Franklin or, you know, any number of these, you know, big ones, and then they get the knowledge, they spin off, and now they're opening up, you know, Rempe's barbecue shop down in, you know, wherever, Texas. Yeah.
No, what's kind of, I guess, rare for me, like I was talking about in 2013, 2014, I don't know a specific date. You know, everybody's talking about how barbecue is booming. You know, you see people waiting in line in the Texas heat, 110 degree heat for 3 hours, which still doesn't make any sense to me. But to each his own. It's a cult almost. People love their barbecue, especially in Texas. But I went up there and I went to Austin, you know, to see what all the fuss was about. I went to La Barbecue and I went to Franklin's, and my holy shit moment was at La Barbecue back when John Lewis was still there, and they were all just starting off. John, Allie, Leanne, and you know, you kind of have like when you have that craft style barbecue for the first time, it kind of like it's like a blast from the past. Like you start remembering all the barbecue you had growing up, and you're like, well, what the hell was I eating as a child? If this is barbecue, that was not barbecue. And man, I just got fixated on the culture, and like everybody, you know, were so, you know, proud to be out there. They wanted to talk about their stories of different barbecue restaurants they went to, different times that they cooked themselves. And I basically, you know, got home, and everybody has somebody in their family that, you know, cooks the best brisket or the best ribs or whatever. They'll fight you over it. There's always somebody in that family. Anyways, my uncle, he was a welder, and he was the barbecue cook of the family, I would say, or at least back then he was the one that was cooking the most. And he had this offset smoker that he had welded together. And to this day, that was probably the hardest pit that I've ever learned on, because it got so hot. It was so small. The surface area to transfer the heat was not, you know, like not very forgiving. And, you know, you start doing it, and you're reading all these cookbooks, and they're telling you to, you know, pull at a certain temperature, season with this, or use this much wood, or so, you know, you're going by the books, and if you go by tit for tat for everything, it's never going to end up very good because they're all basically suggestions, because every piece of wood is different, every pit is different, every cow is different, they're fed different things. And then once I started to figure that out, it was basically a game of Sudoku or Tetris. Like, you're trying to put all these pieces together to get to the end. And from then on out, it was one science project after another of how to get better day after day. And that's basically, it was an obsession. And to this day, it still doesn't get old to me. Like, it's still like when you pick up a video game that you grew up playing, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna give this a try. Super Mario Brothers. I'm gonna see if I can beat this level. That's what basically how I feel about cooking barbecue.
When do you realize, or when do you feel most comfortable saying, I've mastered it good enough to where now I'm going to open up a restaurant? And then what do you tell your parents when you're going to open up Truth?
I think I'm a little different, and me and my wife go back and forth a lot. She's a lot more calculated risk person, weighing everything out. And me, I'm kind of like, oh shit, if I fall on my face, then at least I knew that I did it. I'm scared of failure, of course, but if I don't know, then I'll be wondering forever. And that's kind of like, that's where that started.
Leonard Bertello joining us here on the show, the founder of Truth Barbecue. TruthBBQ.com is the website. You can follow him on Instagram, Truth_BBQ. So you get into business. You're obviously pretty good right off the bat. A lot of buzz going around. And then there's that whole Texas Monthly top barbecue, 50 list that comes out every 3 or 4 years. And you hit top 10 in 2017 out of 50. So
yeah,
that's a pretty big accolade in a fairly short amount of time.
Yeah. I think that was basically our goal. I'm kind of the person, like, if you're going to do something, like, give it your all, like try to be the best, or do the best that you can. And I remember having my father and I talked about this, like, if you're not in the top 10, like, then what next? Because, that's like, you want to get first place all the time. Like, that's what you want. And I kind of, wanted to set the standard and see if I could beat it. And that's my carrot. That's my carrot that I'm chasing all the time. I always tell people that the barbecue that I cooked 6 years ago is not the same that I'm going to cook today, and probably won't be the same from 6 years from now, just to, try to make things better day over day.
This seems like a ridiculous question to ask, but can making the list sometimes cause more harm than good in certain instances?
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of pressure, coming out the gate, because, in 2017, when we were on the list for the first time, we were not cooking at the capacity as post list. And everybody that's coming in post list is coming in to judge you based off of the list. So you really got to be on your P's and Q's, and it is a lot of pressure. I mean,
I assume that increase happens like overnight almost, right? As soon as that list is over, people want to hit that top 10 right now.
Yeah, there's like I said, barbecue's like a cult. So as soon as that list drops, like, everybody already has their idea for the next day of like what they're going to hit that day, like, be it 3 to 5 barbecue restaurants. So everybody's in line the morning after the list, and it's kind of surreal to see that. Like, we could have been super slow 2 days before the list, and then next thing you know, we don't have enough pits to cook. That's how much power that list has. So it can, make or break you, and you got to keep up with the consistency, and you got to keep up with the quality. It's a lot of pressure. Everybody's kind of coming out there to see what you do and if you can do it again.
Is that the piece of advice then you have for the new restaurants that really have a good shot at getting on that next? I mean, it just came out this year, so it's probably not going to be again for at least, a year and a half or 2 years to get the latest and greatest, like halfway through it, and then 2 more years until that next top 50 comes out. But is that what they need to really focus on first, is continuing the consistency, and then knowing that if they land on that list, whatever capacity that they're at is probably going to be under what the demand is going to be going forward, so they're also going to need to think about scaling up at that point?
Yeah. I think that probably the best advice, I mean, obviously, expect for the most, or expect for the worst, and, or prepare for the worst. But it's always going to be busier. Like, it's going to be busier after the list. It doesn't matter if you're in the top 10 or the top 50, but it's kind of hard to, and for me, I drove myself, bonkers crazy. You can ask anybody for each list. You get paranoid. You start to wonder if you made it. You didn't make it, even though you've busted your ass. And I think the advice that I would want to hear, like if I could tell myself, like back then, now, cook the food that makes you and customers happy, because that's ultimately what I was doing. But I was getting kind of blinded by the lists, and I was focusing on that versus, what I'm actually passionate about. And once you start to not care about those things, it relaxes you, and it makes you more comfortable, and it makes you be more in tune with yourself. That way you're not cracking under pressure. Because there were so many times where I mean, it sounds crazy. Like you get so worried that so-and-so is going to come in, like, oh my gosh, did these briskets feel good? Did they feel bad? I don't know until I cut into them. And you just drive yourself insane. It's not healthy, and it's not fun. But ultimately, if you're really passionate about what you do and just making, customers happy and people happy, it makes it so much easier and satisfying for yourself.
This year, as I had mentioned in the Open, Truth takes third overall in the top 50. And maybe it's like asking somebody to pick between their favorite kid. But does the first time on the list, is that the most special, or the higher up you go always going to be the most special? Like if you got number one in 4 years, does that make it the best? How do you delineate between landing on the list twice now?
For me, it was never about, I mean, it was about being on a list, but it was more so being next to the people that, I wanted to be around, if that makes sense. The people that I looked up to, and the people that made me want to do what I do. The numbers are important, but for me to be next to somebody like Wayne Mueller or Aaron Franklin or Todd at Cadillac, like that means more to me than whatever number, because at the end of the day, these numbers are just they're numbers. It gets down to very nitpicky stuff, and it comes down to preference. So it's who's to say that Snow's is better than Franklin's, or Franklin's is better than Snow's, and you know what I mean? It's just they're all in good company.
There he is.
There we go.
Hey,
yeah, everybody's been doing it at that caliber. It's so consistent for so long. It really becomes it's preference ultimately. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you one last question here before we wrap it up here this evening. And this maybe would have been a little bit more timely, when we were first going to go around, but I'm sure it's still on the top of everybody's mind from a consuming standpoint. And that's the cost of finished brisket. I'm seeing it all over Texas in some of the highest ranking places, $35, $38 a pound, whatever it is, broaching towards 40, let's say. Here in Cleveland, even at Michael Simon's Mabel's Barbecue, which I'm a big fan of and eat there fairly frequently, it's $35 a pound here in Cleveland. So as somebody who's living it each and every day, what are we looking at here? Is this just a sheer the suppliers coming to you and his cost is just more, and so the price is going up because you need to make certain margin? Is it everything else that's going up? And where do you see brisket topping out at, or is there no real idea?
I'm hoping that it already topped out during the pandemic, because when we started in 2019 at the Houston location, we were at about $3.19, $3.20 a pound. Then during the peak of the pandemic, we were like mid nines, and now we're just dropping to $5.50, $5.60. It just dropped in the past month. So I'm hoping that we saw the peak of it, but I don't know if it'll actually ever get as low as it was before. Man, I don't know, because with gas prices and then everything, all inflation, you don't realize how many moving parts there are to raise the cattle, process the cattle, then transport the cattle. There's so much money involved, and it's hard for us to dump that on the consumer on the back end, because ultimately barbecue was, it was poor man's food. It was a bunch of cuts of meat that nobody actually wanted. They were too tough to cook, and it was dirt cheap. So now you have craft barbecue with premium cuts at a high price. It gets hard to justify after a while. So I'm really hoping that it has plateaued, because barbecue is it's for everybody. So you want everybody to be able to afford it. It's America's food. So I'm really hoping that it's done and done.
Daniel Vaughn had made a mention a couple weeks ago when he was on that he thought that perhaps brisket over the last handful of years was actually undervalued, where a restaurant might charge, let's say, $22, $23 a pound when they should have been charging higher 20s or maybe into 30, but they were able to make it up on a pulled pork or rack of ribs or sausage. So brisket was underpriced on purpose in order to gain some of it back in some of the other profit leaders, where brisket might have been a loss leader.
Yeah, 100%. Because you kind of have to shield yourself from brisket prices and kind of make it up on the other ones, just because it's hard for me to justify spending $35 a pound on brisket. And it's hard for me to justify going to a steakhouse and spending, $80, $90 on a bone-in strip steak. So you got to make up in different areas. But man, it's so hard. And probably the biggest difficulty in barbecue is educating customers on how, like, if you're cooking on offsets, how much goes into that. Like the price of wood. I mean, the brisket cooks from start to finish. I mean, if you're lucky, it's going to be, under 14 hours. Like that's lucky. Like start to finish, cooling down, putting up and doing all the work. A lot of people don't see the behind the scenes stuff, and they know that you're cooking overnight, but they don't actually know all the work that goes into it. And that's a huge part of brisket. And it's hard for me to justify spending $35 for a pound, but it's hard for me to justify charging $22 a pound, if that makes sense, because there's so much work. So if beef prices were down and we could get right in the middle to where the labor made sense and the price of beef made sense, and the price for the customer, then we'd be in good shape. But now that we're all over the place, it makes it pretty difficult. But I think the hardest thing for me over the course of 6 years has been being able to educate the customer, because they have an idea of how much work goes into barbecue, but until you've actually done it, especially in the Texas heat, it sounds fun, but it's not. It's a labor of love. And like the guys that we have at the restaurant now, like they're like me, I think. Like they have a sickness for it. Like it's hot in there, it's long hours, and but I think you have to appreciate the instant gratification from seeing that customer through the line, like being just like ecstatic. It's a whole nother feeling. It's not at that point, and I'm sure Daniel will tell you the same thing, barbecue is really not about making money. It's more about being around the people and seeing their interactions. That when I told you that holy shit moment that I had at Law Barbecue in 2014, that was a very special time for me. And from then on out, I wanted to be able to create that. And if you've listened to, different people's interviews or podcasts, that they'll tell you, like, when I was in Brenham, like, I would give out pieces of brisket, like burn ends or whatever, and they would have no idea who I am, just so I could see like their instant reaction. If they liked it, they didn't like it, if they loved it. So I think that's a huge part in cooking barbecue.
Leonard Botello breaking it all down for us here, and we're tying up the brisket topic as well with a nice bow from a true professional and one that knows it because he's dealing with it day to day. Truth Barbecue's website, truthbbq.com. Follow him on Instagram, truth_BBQ. Leonard, really glad we could line this up tonight. Really appreciate the insight and continued success. Let's do it again soon.
Thanks, Greg.
You got it?
Good night.
There he is, Leonard Botello from Truth Barbecue. So if you are in the Brenham or Houston area, make sure you stop through and check out what third on the Texas Monthly's top 50 barbecue list actually tastes like. I bet it's magic. No doubt. TruthBBQ.com, the website. All right, before we head on out this evening, I'll tell you quickly about Vortic watches. I'm wearing one right now. Back in the day, watches made to be worn in the pocket. After World War II, wristwatches came into vogue, and pocket watches quickly became an afterthought, finding their ways into sock drawers and scrap heaps, or never to be seen again. That's a tragedy. Well, enter Vortic Watch Company, helping bridge the gap between America's storied watch manufacturing past and bringing it to the present day, where you can now have a pocket watch as a wristwatch. That's right. Here's the incredible part. Each watch that Vortic makes is unique and one of a kind. So the one that I have on my wrist right now, you can't get one just like that. It's not like a lot of these other luxury watch manufacturers that it looks just like every other one. Nothing looks like this one because it's the only one. Vortic, founded on the motto that America wasn't assembled, it was built. Check out Vortic, VORTIC, VorticWatches.com for more information, or you can buy one. They have a good number of inventory right now, and as Veterans Day draws closer, in November, they're going to be releasing that new Veterans Day watch, so make sure that you are on the lookout for that. Those are real special, believe me. You can go check out the website, see what they're all about. That's VorticWatches.com, VorticWatches.com. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Rempe.
Thanks again to Leonard Botello from Truth Barbecue. The website, once again, truthbbq.com, and follow them on Instagram, truth_BBQ, getting a really good insight there, especially on that brisket topic as we tie that one up and put it to bed, at least for now. So certainly appreciate the time and willingness to come back on and give it another try here, as we messed up there on time zones a couple weeks ago when he was set to come on. So well worth the wait. Great info and great insight, great history. And congratulations to Leonard on all the success. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with Mark Williams from Swine Life Barbecue, having a great competition season this year. Shooting to take it down to the Jack Daniels and walk away with a grand championship. Talked about the Praise the Lord event a couple weeks ago, and then he GC'd the week before that at the Goat Days barbecue event. I tried to link up with Jess Pryles, but there was some time issue mix-ups there, so we'll try once again. Apologize to the folks who tuned in for that. Second hour, Sam the Cooking Guy made it in, and we did not do the What Does Sam Like Best game show. We actually talked about food and some new knives, and his thoughts on crowdfunding and what you should be making for dinner tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that on podcast if you're just tuning out because you missed it. And then closing out the show was my most recent guest, Leonard Patello from Truth Barbecue. He is the founder of Truth Barbecue, currently sitting third overall on the most recent Texas Monthly's Barbecue Top 50 list. That is truthbbq.com and the Instagram truth_BBQ. Big show planned for you next week. Meathead will be here, and Robert Moss will be here, and then Aaron Huntelman will be here, amongst others. So, how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
This is Dion Blumenrader with Big Hoss One Sauce, and you're listening to the best show on all things barbecue with my man, Greg Rempe.